probably just from the start, I hope. Nope, of course I was wrong. Let me go back in. All right. All I do is check. All right, now we go from the start. Cool. All right. Microscopy and staining. I think the actual technical name for this chapter is observing or microorganisms under the microscope or something like that, but I call it microscope and staining. All right. So let me talk a little bit about this topic, units of measurement and stuff like that. Then I'm going to grab one of the scopes out of the cabinet and just kind of go through it with you. Nothing you don't know already, but there's a few topics in there, things I'm going to show you. So a little bit of stuff here about measurement and standard units of measurement and that sort of stuff. As I mentioned, I guess on the first day in here, man, you know, if the microscope had never been invented, well, that'd be hard to believe, but if it had never been invented, I guess I wouldn't have a job. We'd still be thinking that the reason I got sick is because my next door neighbor's a witch and put a curse on me or something like that, right? Well, fortunately, microscopes were invented, and I have a job. So bacteria, however, are so extremely small, and you'll see them today under the microscope. They really are very small, and often just at the limit of what we can actually see with a light microscope. That's why we call this course microbiology. The standard unit of measurement, and this is, you've got to know this because I use these terms all the time, and so does the book and stuff. It's kind of like learning body directions in anatomy. The standard unit of measurement in microbiology is something, and I have no idea why there's that little musical symbol next to micrometer. I didn't put it there. That's weird. Anyway, it's a micrometer. And it's extremely small. It's like a millionth of this, of a meter, right? Very, very small. And actually, I'm going to put it on the board here. In the old days, before you guys were around, that's an M-I-C-R-O-N, micron, which was this little thing, look over U, used to be what we called, right? Everything was like a micron, a micron, a micron, a micron. But now it's a micrometer. I don't know. People still use the word micron. I sometimes lapse into that myself, but it's old terminology, stuff I learned when I was in college. But in order to see bacteria don't have any color. I mean, even though the colony might be yellow or red, or there's even blue bacteria, the colonies are blue, the bacteria actually don't have any color. I mean, Pseudomonas produces green colonies, but Pseudomonas under a microscope isn't green. It's colorless. I mean, it just secretes that pigment, and the whole colony gets that color. So in order to see these things, you need to have a microscope, and you also need to color the bacteria, which is what we're going to do today. You need to stain them to make them visible. Right? That's what staining is all about. So that's the micrometer. Now, oops, don't go that fast, Dave. Because bacteria are so extraordinarily small, you need one of these guys in order to pull this out. You need one of these in order to see them. Just a microscope. And the microscopes we use in here are light microscopes because they use visible light to see stuff. Right? And this is the scopes we use in here. They're called oil immersion microscopes. I'll explain to you what that means in just a minute. Now I'll just put both of these pictures up here at the same time. Here's the picture from your book, but let's just do this. These are pretty similar microscopes. So the very first thing, and I know you know sort of microscopy, but I kind of feel like I have to do this. So here's the ocular lenses, and these are where your eyeballs go. Right? There's two of them, so it makes it really easy. I know in general biology we have older microscopes in there, which are monocular scopes, so you have to close one eye to look in there. In anatomy we have binocular microscopes. This is obviously a binocular microscope. So get used to using both eyes. Makes it a lot easier, less eye strain. And as you'll see in a second, these are little magnifying lenses in themselves, but they always are the same power. The ocular lenses magnify 10 times. So if you just pulled one of these out and used it as a little magnifying glass, it would magnify whatever you're seeing 10 times. But that, that's just a little technical piece of information. And then there's some mirrors and prisms and junk like that inside here we don't care about. And then there's this thing, this little rotating structure here, and these are called objective lenses, and there's 4 of them. But really, when it comes right down to it, you only use 1 of the 4. So why have the 4 on there? Well, because that's how they come. When we got these scopes, I guess we've had these scopes for 6 or 7 years now. Some of these microscopes you guys use in anatomy are retirees from this class. We just took the oil immersion lenses off. But we had some other Nikon scopes for quite a few years, and actually we still have some that some of you will use, and they still work really well. But they were getting a little old, and so I kind of started the ball rolling. I called up my boss, Kathy, the dean, and asked Kathy, I said, kind of probably time to think about replacing the old Nikons. What do you think? And she goes, because years and years ago, Kathy actually taught microbiology, so she kind of knew about them. And she goes, well, give me a price. Well, I'll see. And this is before we were broke. Right? We actually had money. Anyway, so I kind of called around, and the word sort of got out amongst the various vendors that Southwestern College was thinking about buying like 30 microscopes. So I started getting lots of calls from various people. Could they bring scopes in? And kind of like car dealers were calling me up, right? And so Nikon brought in a scope, and Leica brought in a scope, just for us to try out. Me and Charlie, and I don't think Tolly was here at the time, just to see what we liked and what they would cost. And I got a call one day from a representative from Carl Zeiss, which is a German manufacturer of really well-known optics, and are very expensive. If you've got a pair of Zeiss binoculars, for people who know binoculars, it's like, ooh, wow, those are good optics and expensive. So the guy calls me up and he says, hey, can I bring one of my scopes in? I'm going, I said, I'd love to see it. I said, but I got to be honest with you, there's no way in the world we can afford Zeiss. You guys are a little pricey. And he's going, oh no, come on, let me bring, so I'm going after him. So he brings in this scope, and it's pretty nice. And he says, try it out, see what you think. I said, well, what's it going to cost me? And he goes, just try it out, maybe we'll see it. So you guys are buying 30 scopes, well, we'll cut you a deal here, right?
Don't worry about the Bentley, just drive it.
That's right.
Love
I'm saying, well, we can only afford maybe like $1,500, $1,800 a piece. He goes, we can work, that's the ballpark. Well, anyway, so I'm going, all right. So it was a nice looking scope. I put it out in the lab for a couple of students to use, and they were doing some smears, and they showed me. I'm going, damn, this is really nice. This is a really nice microscope. Really nice microscope. And the students go, wow, yeah, everything is so, the optics are so good. I'm going, yeah, this is nice. So the guy calls me up a couple of days later. He goes, what do you think? I'm going, I said, I'll tell you, man. I said, if we can make a deal on these for, anything less than like, maybe $1,500, $1,600. I said, you got a deal. And there he goes, well, no, okay, something's up. And he goes, it's mine. He said, I screwed up. He said, the scope I dropped off for you guys to preview is not, not in that price range. He said, that microscope retails for $5,000. That's one of our research scopes. And I'm going, damn it. I said, I knew it was too good to be true. I said, well, we can afford like 2. Everybody else had to share. But man, it was pretty sweet. Anyway, so we got these, for about $1,600 a piece. So I called up Kathy and I said, well, we found the scope we wanted. She says, how much? I'm going about, well, let's say ballpark $1,600. She goes, how many do you want? I go 30, and she screamed. But she came up with the money. So I think we got 24. Anyway, so these are the objective lenses. There's 4 of them. The little one here is 4x, and so you never use it. I mean, it's just like a scanning lens. I asked them if they could take them off, and they said, well, it's not going to save any money, so no big deal. The next one around, it's the smallest little objective lens. It's got a little red kind of color on it. The next one is 10 power, and you never use that one either. It's too, not enough power. The next one, it says 40 on it. It's got a little blue ring on it there. I don't use it. Sometimes you guys will use it just if you can't find something on the slide and just need to locate where the smear is. But typically you don't use that one either. So